In the summer of 2003, I returned to Charleston, South Carolina for the first time in over a decade. The city had changed, more tourists, new restaurants lining King Street, and a polished, historic charm that hadn't yet felt so curated in my childhood. But underneath all the brick alleys and Spanish moss, the humidity still carried the same scent of salt, soil, and something older, something I couldn't name. I came back because my grandmother had passed. She'd raised me in that 2-story clapboard house on Smith Street, not far from the College of Charleston. It was the kind of house with peeling shutters, magnolia roots crawling under the porch, and creaking wooden floors that remembered every footstep. She had been the only family I had left, and after she died, the house fell to me. I wasn't sure what to do with it yet, whether I'd sell it or keep it. But I needed to see it again, just once, before deciding. When I arrived, the air conditioning was dead, and the dust had claimed every surface like a veil. I spent the first night cleaning the front room and the kitchen, working in silence until sunset painted the windows orange. There was comfort in the familiarity, the uneven floorboards, the way the back screen door always stuck, the soft knock of wind against the attic vent. I didn't plan to stay longer than a weekend, but on my second night, while digging through old boxes in the upstairs hallway closet, I found something I'd long forgotten, a Ouija board, not a cheap cardboard toy. This was one my grandmother had made herself decades ago. The wood was dark-stained, the letters hand-carved and varnished smooth. The planchette was still tucked beneath the board, triangular with a glass lens in its centre. I stared at it for a long time, remembering a moment I had buried. When I was 12, I used the board with my best friend Thomas in that very house. We were curious kids, drawn to the occult by campfire stories and weekend horror movies. I remembered us sitting on the attic floor with a flashlight and a box of cookies, asking questions, giggling, waiting for something to happen. We didn't take it seriously. Not until Thomas's older brother died in a car accident a few weeks later. After that, Thomas changed. He stopped coming over, stopped talking. His family moved away before the school year ended. We never spoke again. I carried the board downstairs and placed it on the living room floor, just in front of the cold fireplace. Maybe it was nostalgia, maybe it was something else, but I felt compelled to use it. One last time, not for fun, not to mock, to ask something I'd never dared to ask before. The house was quiet except for the hum of cicadas outside. I lit one of my grandmother's old oil lamps, the power was flickering on and off all day, and sat down cross-legged on the rug. I placed both hands lightly on the planchette and took a deep breath. I asked, in my mind, "Is anyone here with me?" Nothing moved. The lamp flame danced but held steady. My hands remained still. Then the planchette began to shift. It was slow at first, so slow I thought it might be my own tremble. But it moved again, deliberate now, gliding from the centre of the board toward the letter T, then H, O, M. I froze. It spelled THOMAS. My chest tightened. I whispered in my head, "Is it really you?" The planchette slid across the board. YES. 100 thoughts flooded my mind. I hadn't said his name aloud. I hadn't spoken it in years. My hands were shaking now, but I didn't let go. I asked silently, "Why now? Why after all this time?" The board responded, SORRY. The moment I saw the word, tears stung my eyes. Not because of guilt or sadness or fear, but because I understood. When Thomas's brother died, we were too young to process grief. I never comforted him, never asked if he was okay. I avoided him, confused and scared. And then he was gone. The board moved again, MISS, then FRIEND. I felt the weight of it in my chest, not dread this time, but sorrow, sharp and sudden. I placed one hand over my eyes and let the tears fall. The room stayed still, the air thick with something tender. When I opened my eyes again, the flame of the lamp flickered hard. The planchette was still. I asked, "Are you at peace?" It moved, Y-E-S. Then it paused, M-O-V-E-O-N. There was no menace in the room, no darkness pressing in, only stillness, warmth, and an odd clarity, as if the veil between what was and what remains had grown briefly transparent. I whispered, "Thank you," though I knew he couldn't hear it with ears. I lifted my hands from the board. The planchette didn't move again. After a long while, I stood, put the board back into its box, and returned it to the hallway closet. That night, I slept without fear for the first time in years. The next morning, I packed my things, locked up the house, and made a decision. I would keep the home, not just for its memories, but because it felt like something had been released. Not trapped, not banished, just set free. Years later, I still think about that night. Not with fear, but with peace. I never used the board again. I didn't need to. Sometimes closure doesn't come with explanations. It comes with presence. With a message spelled slowly in quiet air. With the kind of silence that feels like forgiveness.